Okay.
Hello.
Hello. So I read the Rose Casement article called "Breaking the Silence: The Stories of Gay and Lesbian People in Children's Literature," and it discussed just generally the topic was about like gay and lesbian themed literature within the classroom, and it talked about how it's often just banned or teachers tend to censor what is used.
Mm-hmm.
And it talked about the need for it because oftentimes not including it silences the voices of students who may be gay or lesbian or have family members who are. And it talked about how these texts often elicit strong negative reactions from either staff or student parents. And it often, negative reaction censors what authors and publishers write or publish. And so it's often harder to find gay and lesbian themed literature. And it talked about how, voices being silenced and how it kind of causes issues of identity and acceptance within society for students who either have family members or themselves are gay and lesbian. And it was talking about the need to have the literature because it allows these students to identify and relate to literature, which is something we emphasize within education, is making it so they can identify with it. And I don't know, just excluding it gets rid of that thing of being able to see themselves in the literature and connect to it and everything. What else did I write? And just basically, again, how if they can't relate to it, it's often harder to learn, or the curriculum and that becomes more relevant to them. And it talked about how not only does it help these students relate to it, it also informs other students of these different, I guess not way of living, because in that other article it said that's kind of insulting to.
Oh, to kind of say it's
a way of life,
a different lifestyle kind of thing.
Yeah, but just it helps them to see that different, I guess, families can be formed in different ways.
It's kind of like in the book the kids book that we read, with the two moms, all the children that they adopted and everything.
Yeah, definitely. That it strongly hit it it's still a family even if it takes a different shape.
Yeah.
And then it talked about how when you're evaluating it, this literature should be the same standards for literary quality as all children's literature. So having well-developed characters and plot. So basically it should be judged on its quality rather than the content or what the author's opinion is about homosexuality. And it also presented a lot of resources within it, and it talked a lot about different authors that wrote about how to include it within schools, and it also provided some examples of children's literature. One of the resources was called "It's Elementary, Talking About Gay Issues in School," and then the other one was "That's a Family," and these were by the Women's Educational Media. And then these two just discussed the position of gay lesbian issues in everyday world, both in the school and in family. And then an article by Frances Day provided guidelines for evaluating the text, more specific ones. I didn't look at it, but it just basically has those guidelines. And it's called "Lesbian and Gay Voices, an Annotated Bibliography and Guide to Literature for Children and Young Adults." And unfortunately it talked about how often gay and lesbian themed literature goes out of print because it's so controversial and it's not being bought and included in schools and everything. And yeah, that's it. I think that was all the questions.
Do you want to just split?
We kind of just quickly browsing the other article for B, and it seems like it's kind of similar to the first article. It's talking a lot about like the language that they use in schools, and then also the kids who have like families who have like 2 moms or 2 dads and everything, and just like what they've been having to go through. And so I'm just kind of quickly looking at what the questions are. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, you know what? I think we can just go on to C. Sorry. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
So
but it's really along the same lines. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, sorry. So for C, we both read an article that was called Girls, Worms, and Body Image.
Oh, this is a really interesting.
I loved it because it was written by a teacher, and it's just like a couple pages about how she like heard her students talking about the fact that they were very self-conscious about their bodies, like, oh, I need to lose weight. These are like 2nd and 3rd graders.
Yeah, they're like 7 or 8 years old or something like that.
Something like that. And she was like really upset that this was happening, and so she did.
Especially at such a young age.
Yeah.
Her first lesson plan was a complete flop, and it was basically her like trying to figure out what stereotypes each gender thought of the other gender. It was like boys are better than girls with math, or like
like
girls
boys
can
are
only
smarter.
cook, like little things that they thought of. And she, what else did she do? She
Oh, there's the thing with the worms, like
that was the one that worked though. That was the second lesson plan.
Yeah.
The first lesson plan didn't work, and she was just like, I don't know what to do, like nothing's working. And then like it started raining, and then the girls were freaking out because there were so many worms, and she like took that situation as like, you know, girls can also touch dirty things, and so she made the worms like a habitat, and like she just like expanded on it, and the girls were like, oh, okay, like we can help bring it food and dirt and everything, and the girls were like, wow, I'm not scared of worms anymore. It looks like girls can do things that boys can do.
One thing that she did that I liked.
Interesting way to do that.
Yeah.
One thing that she did that I liked was when she held up the Barbie doll.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
what she did was she had a Barbie doll and showed it to the kids in the class, and she asked them to describe what the Barbie doll looked like. And one part that I liked was the girl was like, she has big boobs, and you're like, okay, can we have a bit more respectful way to say that? I thought that was like, even though that wasn't really planned, I thought that it was just well handled and everything. Just kind of teaching that. It's like even like especially for girls, learning the respectful language as well as the guys, and then just I thought it was good how she also tied in things about race as well, and like how it they noticed that the Barbie doll didn't look anything like the women in their lives. So I thought that was
really cool. They're like, do you know anyone that looks exactly like this? Like,
Yeah.
No, no one has those small feet. They're probably for heels, but nobody has it. Or like,
Yeah.
nobody has that great of hair, or like their bodies are that small.
Oh yeah, and then like about the child who's only allowed to play with the black Barbie dolls, and like how the hair wasn't even really representative of African American hair. Yeah, like I thought that was a really good point, because it's like that's like not how their hair looks a lot of the time. I mean,
The teacher also, besides like the Barbie thing, had brought in advertisements.
that was a cool
And like she
assignment.
brought one in that was like a young lady like smoking a cigarette, and the kids were like, that's not what you look like when you're smoking cigarettes. Like these are like the dirty, like grimy people, like makes you, I don't know, they were just like talking about how like the woman was portraying something that looks so good but wasn't good for you. I was like, that was kind of cool, like bringing things from the outside. I just liked how it was written by a teacher, and she was just like really honest.
Yeah, and like even like it was kind of funny. The perspective of hers was like when the university student came in and she was nervous. I was just like, I hadn't really thought that we make them nervous when they come in.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to hear that side, but yeah, I really liked that writing assignment that she did, like where they each kind of got to pick out their own ad and then write about it and write what they thought it was, like what kind of message it was sending and everything.
That's
Like,
cool.
yeah, I feel like first of all, like it's a good writing assignment, writing practice, but then also it's really a good way to let the kids explore their opinions on it and then get that kind of critical eye, you know, because like that's the kind of stuff I was doing in a college class. So that they're teaching this to elementary kids, I think is really great, that getting it started so early.
Yeah, that was like the first question, like summarize her thing. And then it kind of, the questions kind of were more personal. It was kind of like, what do you think about gender roles, and how do you think this article kind of showed you what it was like? And I definitely thought like gender roles are just like unnecessary. Like it's not okay to be the one that's like, I'm always cooking because I'm a girl, I'm cooking.
Yeah.
And it's like, I kind of related it to like my relationship. Like I do have a boyfriend, but I make it known. I'm like, you need to do the dishes this time. Like I'm not doing it, or like it's your turn to go like grocery shopping or something. Because like I don't want to always be that role and always to be like, okay, what are we having for dinner? What are we making? Like, what's happening? So
yeah, like that was like one of the things on the little boys' list or on the girls' list that men always think that they have to have dinner right when they come home.
Yeah, and it's like men are grumpy. And
yeah,
like,
something. Yeah,
you would like everything they said because it was
I
like
think so.
she split the girls and boys up, and the girls had to write about boy stereotypes and the opposite for the boys. So it was really interesting.
something interesting. I was talking to my roommate about this because like this is the kind of stuff that we discuss all the time in my house because we're cool like that. But something that she noticed in the girls' list was that the girls said that boys were bossy and mean, while the boys only said the girls were bossy. I thought that was just like an interesting point, like that the girls thought that the boys were mean.
They both just didn't like each other.
Yeah, they're both really negative lists.
So like if you think about it, they learned that from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like their behaviors are probably following their mothers or their fathers, or like stay-at-home mom is obviously always doing everything, and
Or even just around them, like
Yeah, like
I
the
had-
toys and media that it was mentioning. Sorry.
I had a psych professor who like tried to be gender neutral with her son, like when he was growing up, and she'd have both kinds of toys. She wouldn't say you have to use this, you have to use that. Or no, it was her daughter, and she's like talking to her, and she's like, "Mom, what's your favorite color?" She's like, "I don't have one." She's like, "Well, it's pink." She's like, "Why do you think that?" She's like, "'Cause girls have to like pink." And so like just from like going to school and everything.
Yeah, you can't really get
She's
away
like-
from it.
Yeah, it's hard to get away when it's so ingrained within.
Then just turn on the
Society, I
TV,
think.
you know?
yeah.
But-
Okay, getting back.
Yeah, like I thought it was well summarized. The teacher saying that it was toys and media that kind of give these gender ideas, like with the list about like, because you see that at least you have in the past. I don't know exactly how they're changing it nowadays in cartoons, but like you'd see like you see in the cartoons like there's the mom who did all the cooking and everything, and the dad who like went to work and all that, and like. I don't know if y'all ever watched a cartoon called Dexter's Lab. I always just think of like those two. Like the dad would, put on his hat and tie and go to work every day, and the mom was never seen without her gloves and her apron on. I just thought that was such an interesting point. Like,
I didn't notice that.
yeah, and then the daughter was the little ballerina, always wearing pink, super girly girl, and the boy was all about science and machines and everything. I never really realized it until now, but just like how, like, watching that as a child, I was getting those ideas of like, okay, that's what boys and girls do. Like, it's just
I
funny.
noticed that, and I watched that all the time growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like looking back at the cartoons that we watched as kids, it's like, whoa, there really were a lot of gender stereotypes.
Johnny Bravo, you have to be this
Oh my
big
gosh.
masculine guy.
Johnny
Always
Bravo.
saving the little girls.
But, I did like in that show how the girls always, like, didn't give him the time of day, or they punched him when he tried to flirt with them. So it's like, at least the women were kind of powerful, but at the same time, it was kind of like, because Johnny Bravo was the main hero of the story, I guess, if you can call him here, main protagonist guy, and the girls were always, like, beating him up, you got this idea that, oh, those girls are always being so mean to Johnny, like, they're always so negative and violent with him,
Yeah.
So, I could, like, write a whole
You go on
paper and
and on.
discuss it. Because I love cartoons, so it's just fun to critique them now, But, so what about, like, I think we were talking about how gender roles affect us in our daily lives and everything. So I feel like, there's kids, but then also we're outcomes of that,
Yeah.
growing up like that. And like something interesting in the article that I was talking about with the teacher, like how she had a photograph of herself when she was a little girl, and she was like in the frilly dress and all the dolls around her and smiling shyly at the camera and everything. And so, yeah, that was in the 50s. But do you think that things have changed now? Like, do you feel like you were affected a lot by gender roles or gender stereotypes growing up?
I don't think I was. I mean, I grew up like in the country, and it was always like I was out playing in the dirt, and like I didn't take on that typical role of like a girl can't get dirty, and like I don't know. I did pretty much everything else that everyone else did. Even growing up with 3 sisters.
Oh wow.
I don't think I.
Yeah, I grew up with one brother, so sometimes it was like he had his trucks and I had my Barbies, but our trucks and Barbies couldn't play together.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like as I grew up, it was kind of like, why can't I use trucks? Like those are cool too.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's kind of funny because I grew up in the country with one brother. So, but yeah, like I was always like playing in the big dirt piles and running around the grass and always hanging out with my brother. And then I had like my other friend who was a girl, and we were always like doing outdoor boy stuff. And I remember like I never really was that into Barbies, but my friend was.
I feel like there was a little gender bias when I was younger, just because I wanted to do like brownies, girls only, and like Girl
I
Scouts.
didn't think of that.
Like I did all of that stuff.
I did Girl Scouts, but I didn't think of.
It was like only girls can do this, and like we never went camping. It was always like we're gonna plant things for the elderlies, or we're gonna draw some pictures. And it wasn't just like let's go camping, let's get dirty, like let's do it.
I never noticed
So-
the different, like, or thought about, like, the difference between, like, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and
Yeah. Like
That's
Cubs. I
interesting.
don't know, I think that's what they're called. But
Cub Scouts.
Cub Scouts, yeah. And it was
Yeah.
like we were never like able to like hang out together. It was kind of like, no, you do that, you do that.
It's funny how like they divide them up so much. Like
Like I think it's